Chapter 13.
Now the feast of unleavened bread drew near, which is called the Passover. And the chief priests and the scribes sought how they might kill him, but they feared the people. Then entered Satan into Judas, surnamed Iscariot, being of the number of the 12. And he went his way and spoke with the chief priests and captains how he might betray him unto them, and they were glad and covenanted to give him money. And he promised them, and sought opportunity to betray him unto them in the absence of the multitude. Then came the day of unleavened bread when the Passover must be killed. And he sent Peter and John, saying, Go and prepare us the Passover, that we may eat. And they said unto him, Where do you desire that we prepare? And he said unto them, Behold, when you have entered into the city, there shall a man meet you, bearing a pitcher of water. Follow him into the house where he enters in, and you shall say unto the master of the house, The master says unto you, Where is the guest chamber where I shall eat the Passover with my disciples? And he shall show you a large upper room, furnished, there make ready. And they went and found as he had said unto them, and they made ready the Passover. And when the hour had come, he sat down, and the 12 apostles with him. And he said unto them, I have eagerly desired to eat this Passover with you before I suffer, for I say unto you, I will not any more eat thereof until it is fulfilled which is written in the prophets concerning me. Then I will partake with you in the kingdom of God. And he took the cup and gave thanks and said, Take this and divide among yourselves, for I say unto you that I will not drink of the fruit of the vine until the kingdom of God shall come. And he took bread and gave thanks, and broke and gave unto them, saying, This is my body which is given for you, this do in remembrance of me. Likewise also the cup, after supper, saying, This cup is the new covenant in my blood which is shed for you. But behold, the hand of him who betrays me is with me on the table. And truly the Son of Man goes as it was determined, but woe unto that man by whom he is betrayed. And they began to inquire among themselves who of them it was who should do this thing. There was also a strife among them, who of them should be accounted the greatest. And he said unto them, The kings of the Gentiles exercise lordship over them, and they who exercise authority upon them are called benefactors, but it ought not to be so with you. But he who is greatest among you, let him be as the younger, and he who is chief, as he who does serve. For which is greater? He who sits at a meal or he who serves? I am not as he who sits at a meal, but I am among you as he who serves. You are they who have continued with me in my temptations, and I appoint unto you a kingdom as my Father has appointed unto me, that you may eat and drink at my table in my kingdom and sit on 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel. And the Lord said, Simon, Simon, behold, Satan has desired you that he may sift the children of the kingdom as wheat, but I have prayed for you that your faith fail not, and when you are converted, strengthen your brethren. And he said unto him, being grieved, Lord, I am ready to go with you, both into prison and unto death. And the Lord said, I tell you, Peter, that the cock shall not crow this day before you will 3 times deny that you know me. And he said unto them, When I sent you without purse and scrip or shoes, did you lack anything? And they said, Nothing. Then said he unto them, I say unto you again, he who has a purse, let him take it, and likewise a scrip, and he who has no sword, let him sell his garment and buy one. For I say unto you, this that is written must yet be accomplished in me. And he was reckoned among the transgressors, for the things concerning me have an end. And they said, Lord, behold, here are 2 swords. And he said unto them, It is enough. And he came out and went as he was accustomed to the Mount of Olives, and his disciples followed him. And when he was at the place, he said unto them, Pray that you enter not into temptation. And he had withdrawn from them about a stone's cast, and kneeled down and prayed, saying, Father, if you are willing to, remove this cup from me, nevertheless, not my will, but yours be done. And there appeared an angel unto him from heaven, strengthening him. And being in an agony, he prayed more earnestly, and he sweat, as it were, great drops of blood falling down to the ground. And when he rose up from prayer and had come to his disciples, he found them sleeping, for they were filled with sorrow, and said unto them, Why are you sleeping? Rise and pray, lest you enter into temptation. And while he yet spoke, behold, a multitude, and he who was called Judas, one of the 12, went before them, and drew near unto Jesus to kiss him. But Jesus said unto him, Judas, do you betray the Son of Man with a kiss? When they who were about him saw what would follow, they said unto him, Lord, shall we smite with a sword? And one of them smote the servant of the high priest and cut off his right ear. And Jesus answered and said, Enough, enough. And he touched his ear and healed him. Then Jesus said unto the chief priests, and captains of the temple, and elders who had come to him, Are you come out as against a thief, with swords and staves? When I was daily with you in the temple, you stretched forth no hands against me, but this is your hour and the power of darkness. Then they took him, and led him, and brought him into the high priest's house, and Peter followed afar off. And when they had kindled a fire in the middle of the hall and were seated together, Peter sat down among them. But a certain maid beheld him as he sat by the fire, and earnestly looked upon him and said, This man was also with him. And he denied him, saying, Woman, I know him not. And after a little while, another saw him and said, You are also of them. And Peter said, Man, I am not. And about the space of 1 hour, another confidently affirmed, saying, Truly, this man was also with him, for he is a Galilean. And Peter said, Man, I know not what you say. And immediately while he yet spoke, the cock crew. And the Lord turned and looked upon Peter, and Peter remembered the word of the Lord, how he had said unto him, Before the cock crows, you shall deny me 3 times. And Peter went out and wept bitterly. And the men who held Jesus mocked him and smote him. And when they had blindfolded him, they struck him on the face and asked him, saying, Prophesy, who is it who smote you? And many other things blasphemously spoke they against him. And as soon as it was day, the elders of the people, and the chief priests, and the scribes came together and led him into their council, saying, Are you the Christ? Tell us. And he said unto them, If I tell you, you will not believe. And if I also ask you, you will not answer me nor let me go. Hereafter shall the Son of Man sit on the right hand of the power of God. Then said they all, Are you then the Son of God? And he said unto them, You say that I am. And they said, What do we need of any further witness? For we ourselves have heard of his own mouth. And the whole multitude of them arose and led him unto Pilate. And they began to accuse him, saying, We found this man perverting the nation and forbidding to give tribute to Caesar, saying that he himself is Christ, a king. And Pilate asked him, saying, Are you the king of the Jews? And he answered him and said, Yea, you say it. Then said Pilate to the chief priests and people, I find no fault in this man. And they were the more fierce, saying, He stirs up the people, teaching throughout all Judea, beginning from Galilee to this place. When Pilate heard of Galilee, he asked whether the man was a Galilean. And as soon as he knew that he belonged unto Herod's jurisdiction, he sent him to Herod, who himself also was at Jerusalem at that time. And when Herod saw Jesus, he was exceedingly glad, for he was desirous of a long time to see him because he had heard many things of him and he hoped to have seen some miracle done by him. Then he questioned with him in many words, but he answered him nothing. And the chief priests and scribes stood and vehemently accused him. And Herod, with his men of war, despised him and mocked him, and arrayed him in a gorgeous robe, and sent him again to Pilate. In the same day, Pilate and Herod were made friends together, for before this, they were at enmity between themselves. And Pilate, when he had called together the chief priests, and the rulers, and the people, said unto them, You have brought this man unto me as one who perverts the people, and behold, I, having examined him before you, have found no fault in this man, touching those things whereof you accuse him. No, nor yet Herod, for I sent you to him and, behold, nothing worthy of death is done unto him. I will therefore chastise him and release him, for of necessity he must release one unto them at the feast. But they cried out all at once, saying, Away with this man and release unto us Barabbas. Who, for a certain sedition made in the city and for murder, was cast into prison. Pilate therefore, willing to release Jesus, spoke again to them. But they cried, saying, Crucify him! Crucify him! And he said unto them the 3rd time, Why? What evil has he done? I have found no cause of death in him. I will therefore chastise him and let him go. And they were insistent in loud voices, requiring that he might be crucified. And the voices of them and of the chief priests prevailed. And Pilate gave sentence that it should be as they required. And he released unto them him who, for sedition and murder, was cast into prison, whom they had desired, and delivered Jesus to their will. And as they led him away, they laid hold upon one Simon, a Cyrenian, coming out of the country, and on him they laid the cross, that he might bear it after Jesus. And there followed him a great company of people, and of women who also bewailed and lamented him. But Jesus turned unto them and said, Daughters of Jerusalem, weep not for me, but weep for yourselves and for your children, for behold, the days are coming in which they shall say, Blessed are the barren, and the wombs which never bore, and the breasts which never gave suck. Then shall they begin to say to the mountains, Fall on us, and to the hills, Cover us. And if these things are done in the green tree, what shall be done in the dry tree? This he spoke, signifying the scattering of Israel and the desolation of the heathen, or in other words, the Gentiles. And there were also 2 others, malefactors, led with him to be put to death. And when they had come to the place which is called Calvary, there they crucified him and the malefactors, one on the right hand and the other on the left. Then said Jesus, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do, meaning the soldiers who crucified him. And they parted his raiment and cast lots. And the people stood beholding, and the rulers also with them derided, saying, He saved others, let him save himself if he is Christ, the chosen of God. And the soldiers also mocked him, coming to him and offering him vinegar, and saying, If you are the King of the Jews, save yourself. And a superscription also was written over him in letters of Greek, and Latin, and Hebrew, This is the King of the Jews. And one of the malefactors who was crucified with him railed on him, saying, If you are the Christ, save yourself and us. But the other, answering, rebuked him, saying, Do you not fear God, seeing you are in the same condemnation, and we indeed justly? For we receive the due reward of our deeds, but this man has done nothing amiss. And he said unto Jesus, Lord, remember me when you come into your kingdom. And Jesus said unto him, Truly I say unto you, today shall you be with me in the world of spirits. And it was about the 6th hour, and there was a darkness over all the earth until the 9th hour. And the sun was darkened, and the veil of the temple was rent in the middle. And when Jesus had cried with a loud voice, he said, Father, into your hands I commend my spirit. And having said thus, he gave up the ghost. Now when the centurion saw what was done, he glorified God, saying, Certainly this was a righteous man. And all the people who came together to that sight, beholding the things which were done, smote their breasts and returned. And all his acquaintance and the women who followed him from Galilee stood afar off, beholding these things. And behold, a man named Joseph, a counselor, a good man and a just one, the same day had not consented to the counsel and deed of them, a man of Arimathea, a city of the Jews, who also himself waited for the kingdom of God, he went unto Pilate and begged the body of Jesus. And he took it down, and wrapped it in linen, and laid it in a sepulchre which was hewed in a stone wherein never man before was laid. And that day was the preparation, and the Sabbath drew on. And the women also who came with him from Galilee followed after, and beheld the sepulchre and how his body was laid. And they returned and prepared spices and ointments, and rested the Sabbath day according to the commandment.